starting the stream, testing the audio. Should be going online very shortly. And, yep, here we are. Get my chat box set up. And that looks pretty good. I need to make one quick stop, guys, but I will be streaming shortly. Alrighty, guys. Hello and welcome. Today, I am going to be just doing something very simple, building a computer for a test bench, because I'm going to be testing a ton of coolers over the course of the next, well, month or so. Why am I doing this? I don't actually have an answer for you. I'm not a YouTuber, so I don't really do it for the views, and I already kind of know what cooler is going to be best for the Mini anyway, but I get emails every single day asking me if this cooler is good for the Mini or this cooler, or what about this combination? And although I've tested them over the past several years, I figured it'd be good just to make another big cooler video so people can look at it and still probably ask what is the best cooler for the Mini. So that's what I'm doing today. So hello everybody. Say hi to the first peoples. Got Siegfried, Chingy, TechnoEdge, Jim Bond, Luna. Good to see you guys. Thanks for always stopping by for the stream. Siegfried is asking about the Vigo Nano from last time, and it works great with the Revision 1 HD-Plex 400. It did require undervolting, but not at a very big cost. I actually do have a spreadsheet showing some of the tunings that I've done. Now, I noticed that the stream is kind of lagging. I can't really do anything about that. I don't really know why it's doing that. It's not the internet. It's actually on the PC end of things. I'm gonna have to rebuild that all later, but it should work for now. So I had a couple questions that I wanted to get answered myself. One of them was, what does the new Z390i Strix actually look like? Because as you guys can see, the Z370 and the Z270 before that have been my motherboard of choice. I do use other products. I'm not saying that the Asus makes the best one, but when you make something that's consistent and good and you want to use the same thing over and over again, you get familiar with it, you know its bugs, you know what makes it. You want to get familiar with a motherboard if you have the opportunity to, rather than buy tons of different ones. So I would buy different ones from time to time, but for the most part I've stuck with the Asus. However, this Asus board has something that really, annoys me, and that is they decided to move the I/O panel connectors in a terrible spot. I mean, this may be a good spot for most ATX cases when an ATX-sized board, but for mini builds, specifically the S4 Mini, it's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. And I'm trying to think what computer case it would be good for, but I can't, because all small form factor mini builds, whether they're going to be tall or they're all going to have the power button pretty much in the front. I don't know. It's just really, really bad placement. So I've actually had to start selling on my website extra long power switches, which, you know, are harder to make and they kind of throw off my groove because I have to stop and make ones for extra long power switches. But more than that, it's confusing to some people because I'll put up like, okay, if you have this board, buy the long switch. But then people are like, okay, should I buy the long switch? They second guess themselves, you know? So it really does bug me. I mean, they had this layout perfect, I think. And Asus, sorry to rant about this, but Asus are the guys that actually established the placement of these different parts, in my mind. Because Mini ITX, they put the different computer doodads on their motherboards all over the place. There was no real standard. Gigabyte for a long time, you know, had the 24 pin on top because that's how Intel had it. That's not really the best place. And Asus figured out that, hey, we could put this end of day, this 24 pin up the top right corner. just great placement. Great placement. And so other vendors started doing the same thing, and it was just wonderful for a while. MSI couldn't really get their stuff together. They made some that were this way and some that were another way. But overall, been very happy with this layout. I don't know why Asus decided to change it all. But that's my rant about that. But I have to say that their Strix boards have been really good. I know it's fun to hate on Asus, but I've not had an issue with them. Been very happy with them, which is saying something, because usually when I'm buying like big ATX boards or Asus products in general, it seems like something's going to break on them immediately. But anyway, I like the look of the board. This is definitely the best Strix looking board yet from Mini ITX. It has a dark charcoal color scheme. More of their nonsense when they're talking about heat sinks all over the place. More than likely, the system is going to benefit from removing all these heat sinks, but it does look really good. So, I will punch that spreadsheet. Well, actually, Siegfried, you can just go to the other video and just check the link. But I have the benchmarks put down. Jimbon says, I also hate the so-called flat SSD heatsinks, the ones that with no fins have been tested to increase SSD temp. Yes, exactly. These things, they look nice, but they're absolute garbage. They just make your SSD run hotter. And just think about that. I mean, with a small form factor cooler, you're just blowing hot air on this metal piece right here, which is connected to your SSD. You don't want that. You don't want that at all. So just throw them out. In fact, look, check this out, guys. This is by no means my full collection. This is just customer builds where I keep parts for a certain amount of time in case there's a problem and then I return them. These are just builds in the last, I don't know, couple months. I mean, I take them out and usually throw them out. Sometimes I give them to the customer, but then the customer can get a little antsy and say, why did you take off that heatsink? Well, you asked me to do the best job I possibly could, so I took it off for you. Thank you, Weston, for the donation. I really appreciate it. And Tumor follows right up immediately. Really, really appreciate that. Thank you very much for supporting these silly streams. That's really what I should call this. I should make my playlist called the Silly Streams, because they are very silly, because they are streamed by me, and I am silly. Okay, Siegfried, fine, you win. My disorganization. Now I gotta find where I put you guys. Got my chat window all arranged just nicely. There you go. Alrighty. Abe asks, any tips for a first-time case designer? Going to be using a lot of CNC'd acrylic. Well, that's awesome. The first tip I have to say is make sure you get your layout totally finalized on paper first, whether it be in the computer or on paper, and account for wire thickness and wire lengths. That's really, really important. Don't cut your hand off is also really good advice. And beyond that, if you sound like you're kind of doing it more professionally, getting it all CNC'd, but for me, when I was starting making cases, I couldn't wait to start actually making the case after I got my design done. So I would go immediately to my good materials and then ruin them immediately. So if you have scrap to practice on first, that's always really awesome. Thanks for asking how I'm feeling. I'm feeling a lot better now, Chingy. I'm over my little sickness thingy that I had. John Morrison, thank you for the super chat, sir. Says needs more beige, which is a wink to to John's epic mini project that he has going on right now that I'm excited to see. And I'm actually extremely excited to see John's build because I've always wanted to do a mini in beige before. So I'm glad that he's doing it so I don't have to. That's the best thing about making cases, is that people do the mods so I don't have to do the work myself. Wow, Mary, I appreciate that so much. You guys are on a roll today with that trade. Really appreciate it. Okay, so I've already wrecked this by putting it on the board here, but that's not too much of a problem. Let's see what else is in this box. Oh, if you look into the description for this video, you see the list of the coolers I'm going to be testing. If you have one that you want to see tested, send me an email. Even better, if you have a cooler that you're not using anymore, or you want to let me borrow, or you want to send to me so I can test it, that'd be great. Get in contact with me. I really appreciate it. All of these coolers, or most all these coolers, were sent to me by the YouTube community. So I really appreciate that. It certainly saves me money, so I don't have to buy every single part. But I did buy a couple of them, like Dan's new cooler, because I wanted to test that out. There's nothing new in the box, but some cable mod coupon code for sleeve cables. I have stacks of these, so if you actually want one, just send me an email. Cable mod makes some good sleeved cables for sure. Though it's a pain to actually apply this code. You can't do it at the coupon, at the checkout like it says on the sticker. There's like another place where you put the code into it. It's kind of confusing. I don't remember how it's done, but I remember having trouble doing it one time before. But they do work. So again, if you want that, email me because I have just stacks of them. Stacks and stacks of them. Oh, I'm wrong. I do get something new. I get a little card telling me I made the choice of champions, which is actually partly true because Travis Jank is an overclocking champion and Asus is his sponsor. Good guy, even better overclocker. His wife is pretty awesome too. She makes cakes and cupcakes and stuff like that, muffins, in like the shape of motherboards and does like the icing and stuff to all the details. It's really awesome. So check out Travis Jank's Facebook page sometime and see what his wife has come up with. Yes, I have heard about the Modvio X case. Is the CNPS 8900 really small form factor though? It's kind of getting to be a little bit big. I'm trying to get ones that could possibly sort of fit within the mini or really small form factor cases like the Dan case. I gave Larry the green light to start the AC4 in production. I mean, I don't control his business or anything, but I think I was the last person that he was going to send it to test it out. And I loved it. Fantastic. And you, again, check out the search results that Siegfried asked for. But they worked fantastic, and the new model is going to have a 50-watt peak added to it, so that's even better. It was far more than I was expecting. Far more than I was expecting. I had high hopes for it, and it was far more than I was expecting. So I do know that samples are never indicative of the final product. Usually they're much better until you can really hammer it in and get it done well. But I'm very, very hopeful for the HP-400 AC. I'm very excited for it. Again, I think that's the most exciting product of 2018 for me, and I couldn't be happier. I can't wait to get mine. I just hope that I get mine before you guys get yours, because I don't want to wait any longer. And I ordered like 10 of them. I can barely read what's going on. I probably should move it closer to me. Siegfried, actually what I did for that is I just took the slider and I slammed it all over to the left using Wattman. I could have done much more tweaking, but I wanted to do something really, really easy so the average user could just use the driver and drag a slider. So those results are all done with Wattman's bar being drug all the way to power saving or something like that. Really, really simple. And I think there's plenty of room for tweaking beyond that. I didn't do any overclocking. I didn't try to get the power profiles back up. Really, really, really simple. I'm gonna push my computer a little bit closer. A ton of money would be too little. I actually get that email question a lot of time. I'm not an expert, but I do know that we're talking $500,000 minimum to design a small x86 motherboard. And I don't mean like a fancy one like this. I mean like just the most bare bones, simple, VIA branded type of motherboard. I mean, you're talking $500,000 just to develop something like that. And then actually put it in production, you could never see your money back out of it. You could never see your money back out of it because these guys, they're not even making all their money off this particular motherboard, but they keep stacking research and development, and they can just roll that over from motherboard to motherboard to motherboard. So I don't think that will ever happen, no. That'd be fantastic, but I'm gonna close off my little screen here. Maybe that will save us some batteries. Okay, so get my unboxing knife. It's always, that's the struggle, right? Which side? The UPC side or the factory seal side? It's the struggle, man. I just don't... I'm gonna go with the factory seal side this time. This is a CPU that I am quite... I got it late, I admit, but I would take it slow. There's nothing wrong with 8700K. Nothing wrong with it at all. Put this back in the box for now. I have my sticker, which I will stick on my tool chest if it posts as a reward. Weston asked if I've run any supplier quality issues with manufacturing my cases. Yes, absolutely. That's a huge percentage of the cost of my product is quality control. If I didn't care about quality control, the Mini would cost $100 and I would make more money off of it. But I care about it, and it's so expensive. So yes, the manufacturer does not care about the quality of the product. They just want to make them and get them shipped to you as soon as possible. But when you're talking about a luxury computer case, it is terrible, terrible business proposition. That's why there aren't many luxury computer cases out there, because they're too expensive. They're, if there's a tiny little scratch or something like that, I have to be prepared to buy the PC back from my customer or not ship it out. And the factory doesn't want to help me there, obviously. That's why I'm really happy to be working with Lee & Lee, because at least they understand that. They're not perfect, but they're the best there is. I'm not going to bother to smell this because it's not made in Israel. It doesn't actually have a marker of where it's made. So I like to know where my hardware is coming from before I stick my nose on it. Even, it doesn't matter where it's made. I reserve the right to smell things when I know what continent they're from. Siegfried asked if the 9700K is delidded. It's not, but it should be soldered, right? The 9700K should be a soldered chip. Maybe I'm totally wrong about that. I'm not up on hardware as much as you guys are, but it was my understanding that the 9700K was a soldered chip. So somebody correct me quickly. But I will be obviously looking all this stuff up before I start making a video on it. So the Asus boards come with this little bag with this teeny tiny little standoff and this teeny tiny little screw. You need to use this when installing your heatsink, your SSD, your M.2 SSD. I get a lot of emails when people are troubleshooting problems and stuff. When I see their SSD looks like this, it's very scary. Usually it's on the top one, which I rarely ever use unless I have to. You want to use the back one, especially on the Mini, because the Mini has the sky slots right there, so it gets nice air, it can breathe. The CPU cooler's not blowing on it. Also, I'm grounded with my grounding cable, but it's amazing how few computers I've fried once I started using a grounding mat. I think this is way too deep. Yeah, it's an ESD surface. Mm. 2 terabytes. Very excited about that. So, thank you to the customer that is letting me use this. So happy about the cost of these drives going down too, because last year that would have been insanely expensive. Westboy says, "What's up, man? As a new viewer, I wanted to ask what motherboards are capable of fitting in the S4 Mini, and can I get a beast of a workstation gaming rig with the 8700K in my case?" I got lots and lots of videos on that, ones that are actually short and well produced and show everything out. But the answer is all Mini ITX motherboards fit inside the S4 Mini, both the classic and the new S4M. And you can fit a 1080 Ti from Zotac inside. So that is pretty beastly, in my opinion. But everybody has a different opinion. Hey, Jonathan. It's nice of you to drop in. And Super Sad posted a link to, I'm guessing is the Vega Nano 56 from the Power Color link. But it got cut off. So I can't see for sure. All right. So actually, the reason that I'm having this live stream is, one, I don't have anything else planned. So it's just fortuitous. And two, I learn from you guys. You guys are what keep me educated, in the know. And I am going to be testing these coolers out, not from a reviewer type of standpoint, but why I have them, let's answer the questions that you guys have. So there's a link in the description where you see a spreadsheet I threw up a minute before my stream with different columns in it, like build quality, obviously the benchmarks we're going to be running, stuff like that. If there's anything that you want to see, make sure you post it in the chat. If you have any testing methodology that you think I should follow, let me know. But let's get this as useful to you guys as possible, because it's just going to take a lot of time. So we might as well do it the way that you want us to do it. John would be particularly useful, despite him humble bragging in chat, because John has tested as many coolers as I have that are small form factor and actually done a good job and recorded his findings over at Small Form Factor Network, where you can read his reviews. So especially John, if you want to throw me a bone, please do so. Yes, this is a 9700K, which I think is pushing this to the extreme, right? I don't know, but people ask me, will this work in a Mini? I don't know, so we're going to find out. The 8700K definitely was on the extreme side of things, but it works. So let's see this. Adam Palkovic says the Gigabyte has released the RTX 2070 ITX I don't know if they've released it yet, but they certainly have announced it. I'm gonna show that. I gotta unclip myself from the grounding strap before I trip, like in that last video the other week. John, you and I are two of a kind. It's the same methodology here. Prime 95, then Furmark plus Prime 95, and be prepared to buy new components. It's recording it that's usually the problemo. Okay, so the first things first. I'm not going to do all these, obviously, on camera. I might do one or two of them, but mostly I just want to install Windows, set everything up, and then do the test chip, the test heatsink, which is the control, the Noctua NHL99, not really control. But the one that we already know is the best. See, that's not biased at all, right? I would make a great scientist. First things first, I always clean my CPU off, no matter if it's brand new or not, with some rubbing alcohol, because there have been fingerprints on them before, especially with AMD heat spreaders. I don't know why. It's always weird to buy a new CPU and see a big, fat fingerprint on the heat spreader. But we definitely don't want that affecting our results. Affecting. It doesn't go there, but we'll just call it good for now. And RAM, I really want to put this RAM in, but I'm really not going to. I'm going to use some low profile RAM just in case any of the coolers I have aren't compatible with this RAM. Well, I am not going to stress it too much. I don't think it matters too much. Will it affect CPU temps? Yes, a little bit. But I'm not going to be running XMP, so I don't think it's going to affect it a measurable amount. And again, this is not some kind of hyper-scientific test where we're measuring down to the last degree. We're ballparking it. We're going to measure noise, fitment, a bunch of other useful stuff. So there's only a few very low-profile DIMMs out there. This stuff, a viewer of the channel said, I have several kits. Let me send you some. And I said, send the one that is the best. And he sent me the 8 out of 1s. He said they're not super great or anything, but they're the most affordable of all the VLP DDR4 out there. But I really wish manufacturers would stop making these ridiculous modules with these giant heat sinks on them and just make stuff like this. Everybody likes stuff like that. I really like stuff like this, not only for the small form factor aspect of it, not only for the cooling aspect of it, because this is garbage. Slapping metal or stickers on your modules doesn't make it cooler. But the big thing is these don't pop out in shipping. You know, I build systems and I ship them all around the world, and RAM will pop out in shipping. So I always have to make like neoprene brackets and stuff to hold the RAM down. But the VLP stuff is so light, it doesn't pop out. Siegfried asks about Novus 1. John answers the question perfectly there. John tells a very sad story about getting the wrong kind of memory. And Trident Z is awesome stuff. That's the stuff that I use. I usually use. This is the budget RAM I use, and Trident Z is the nicer stuff I use, but it pops out. It's so heavy. Whenever I ship it, it's always coming out. Unless, again, like I make a neoprene bracket for it. But thank you for the viewer that sent me these sticks for now. I don't know. There's a few of them. I'll just have to make a note of that. I'll have to make a note of that and use these if it comes up, but I'm hoping that it's not going to come up. Then I can really drive the point home that if you have to use one of these coolers with VLP memory, you're already making too many concessions as it is. But I did come prepared. Not through my preparedness, but through others who are looking out for me. I also got sent this guy. So this is Gary's new monster power brick, and I'm so happy with it because I have been wondering for years why a manufacturer just wouldn't put the power input and output on the same side of the power brick, right? So Gary did that. That's how it should be. Very nice. Has a power switch, has a fan switch, very ruggedly built, aluminum everywhere, 2 fans in the back, good stuff. Incredibly overkill, but it's there. So bye-bye Eurocom, we do not need you anymore. You were too expensive and your customer support left something to be desired. And Gary will wire everything up for you as it is. So, where are we at? NHL99 first after I get this memory installed. Yeah, 91's good, but it's harder to find in stores. 70% you can find anywhere. First things first, NHL99. To save you guys like 20 or 30 minutes later in December when I release the video, this is what I'm betting on. This is what I'm rooting for. I actually don't have a dog in the race. You know, I'm not really rooting for any one of them. Maybe the Dan cooler because it looks awesome. But this one just ends up working for me. Boop, 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 boop. I think that everybody watching this probably knows why I like this cooler so much, but just in case, I will talk about why I like it so much. It is just quality. That's the #1 reason. It's not necessarily the highest performing cooler, but it's close. It's very close, but it's so good in every other category. The price is great. The fan is super quiet. It looks beautiful. It's beautifully packaged. It's really easy to install. This install method is machined perfectly. I've not gotten a bad one. Everything lines up perfectly. You don't flex your motherboard and risk cracking anything or bending your CPU. It just, everything about this cooler is just really, really, really good. That's why I like it so much. People don't like the colors, but one of the things that I really can tell is like how plastics, what kind of plastics they use. I don't actually know what kind of plastic they use by name, but you can tell this is really high quality stuff. And in person, it just looks quality. Whereas so many other fans used on other coolers just look like garbage and are garbage. So to me, when I see this now, I think of the exotic leather interior of a sports car. But it's great. And Siegfried, we'll see. I don't think it matters if it's made out of copper or not. First of all, the heatsink is made out of copper. The fins are aluminum. But I don't think it's going to matter. This is according to thermal engineers, like the guy that's working for Compact Design. It may not matter at the end of the day. We're going to be testing several full copper coolers and comparing them. A big one that people want to know the difference is, of course, the CryoRig C7, which in other people's testing, not my own, looks like it's very slightly better with a different fan, which is kind of silly. This one is kind of interesting too, the Thermalwrite, but this would require a really skinny fan in order to work without bending. This is going to be a killer cooler if you can find the right fan for it, I think. There's the Thermalab LP63, which I've never had good luck with. People swear by it and they say it's way better, and I trust those people, you know, good for them finding it out. I'm going to do some testing again and see if I can be converted to it. There's lots of reasons I don't like it. Again, I'll talk about that in the video. But for one, the mounting hardware uses the same type of idea, right? Just screws on the bottom. But it's not precisely machined like the NHL9i is. So you really have to make sure everything lines up perfectly. You can tweak your motherboard a little bit, which is dangerous and not good. I mean, for the motherboard, not for you. You have to remove some stuff on some motherboards. If it fits on this motherboard, it's only going to fit one direction, and that's with the fins going into the back I/O or the RAM. That's obviously not a good orientation. This heatsink costs $60-something in the USA. You can't use the fan on it in the Mini. The fan's really loud anyway, so you got to buy an expensive fan on top of that. So you're talking about $80 minimum, and you're getting a couple degrees better. So that's a lot of the reasons why I don't like this. So, Silvretta, I'm going to be testing combinations using good fans. Like, for example, this doesn't fit in the Mini because of the fan, and the fan is bad on this cooler. The C7's fan is bad. CryoRig, it's a great deal. The C7 is a great deal, great price, but the fan is bad. So in order to make it fit, you have to use a different fan anyway. And it would be buttoned up right against the top of the Mini shell. But anyway, I'm going to include it anyways in the tests. Anyway. Too much anyway. So I'm going to clean the bottom of this off. I'm going to put all that back, just in case. Though, I find that Noctua is very proud of their cooler polish and make sure it comes clean. I'm probably going to use the Noctua on every heatsink, so because a lot of those coolers won't fit in the Mini with their stock terrible fans. For the thermal paste, just to be consistent for my tests, instead of doing a pea-sized amount or whatever, I'm going to put like a line here because I think it's easy to replicate. You can't really use too much thermal paste. I think that it's a myth that's probably been debunked by actual scientists now. You can't use too much. If you use too much, it will pour out over the sides. Obviously, don't do that, but it doesn't hurt performance to put too much on there. I don't put too much on there because I'm like everything neat and precise, but I'm going to go heavy for these tests just to make sure everything's good. Something I'm going to do is I'm going to reseat the coolers and run my tests again. I'm not going to take for granted that I had it right the first time. That's something I think is really important because that can definitely make a big difference. I've learned the hard way. So, man, this stupid shroud, it looks cool for sure. But there's a reason that I recommend the ASRock Z390i aside from the I/O placement. Golly. Gonna have to take the fan off to install the cooler. Asus, you had it right, man. You had it right. Why did you mess it up? I'm now starting to think this is the worst board possible to do these tests with because of the clearance. Or maybe it's the best board possible because of all the clearance. You can figure out exactly what cooler is going to be easiest to install. It is ridiculously tight now. But at least it goes in. Yeah, and Larry Canary says the ASRock Z370 and the Z390 have some lovely VRMs for an ITX board. Really good placement. Really good boards. I like their products. I wish that their UEFI was more unified, like Asus are. Asus has their lines, of course, their Strix boards and their Maximum boards, but it's easy to get around them, whereas ASRock, it's like all over the place between their different boards, which really is annoying to me. But I do love ASRock's network update. That is an awesome feature. It actually works. So when I'm installing this too, I'm not like torquing down, by the way, on the screwdriver. I'm just kind of twisting a little bit. I'm not using the handle up here. I'm also using a number 2. That's important too. If you're using a tiny little screwdriver, like an iFixit screwdriver, you could apply the wrong torque to the screws and strip them. Okay, so we had clearance on the cooler, installed the correct orientation. We're clearing the SSD socket. Everything seemed to go in quite well. It looks really cool, all real stacked in there, but we already know that removing this heatsink off the VRMs improves temperatures drastically. And that was for the old design, which actually would have let some air through. This will let zero airflow from the cooler. So we're gonna take that off. It is just in the way, not gonna do any good. We can already overclock with it removed. So this is the first thing getting the axe. I'm not even going to bother to do a before and after on this one. If you want to see a before and after, go watch one of my other videos. Obviously, it wouldn't be as dramatic as this. One will be, but now we have a nice straight shot out the side of the computer case. Chingy asks about changing VCore voltage offset, and that is a really awesome tool, and that's pretty much all I use now. Super easy to do. Very simple way of undervolting your CPU. So that's what I would try first. If you want to get hard and heavy and detailed, then there are other things you can do as well. But that is a good place to start. But no, it is not by any means the only thing that you can turn off on your motherboard in order to reduce the wattage draw. And you just have to play around, go on the forums, find people that are doing the same thing, find those subcategories, different things, and experiment. Techno asks about my opinion on the gold and silver Trident Z from G.Skill, and I don't think I've seen that, so I would like to. So there's 2 layers here. Okay, well, I see what they did there. No big deal. It's the V-Regs and those chokes. I'm going to put this on here for later. If I had a tower cooler or was liquid cooling, then yeah, I would stick this heatsink on. But I'm taking it off because right now the CPU has no place to dump hot air. And Cuban Legend has seen up to, I think it was 8 degrees Celsius by removing his with the LP63. I usually see 5 to 6 degrees Celsius. That's a big deal. All right. I don't know if it's fair for me to give a rating to this motherboard based on layout, but this is the small form factor world, and I'm already very annoyed with it. The fan headers at least are in a good position, but they're not labeled very clearly. They have their print on the left side nowhere near them. man. Hey, Jamie. Yeah, I'm working with Kevin from Laser 3D on a project right now. You know, it's kind of a side project for both of us. We're both excited about it, but it's just one of those things that has to fit in between daily operation. And I'll have to figure out what to do with that a little bit later. Okie dokie. Kevin's a great guy. Really, really blessed that he contacted me and wanted to collaborate on a project. Really like him. Cuban is in the stream. I was just talking about him. He is the legend. The legend of small form factor. I'm actually going to put this on this side in case I put a graphics card in. Join the Republic. Install processor first, then remove and keep cover. Well placed the cover while removing processor or return the motherboard. Simply acquired. Batteries not included. Alright, so here is our test system. I need to buy a sound measuring tool. I don't know why. I'm not really a reviewer, but I always kind of wanted one. And I don't even know what they're called. A decibel recorder machine. So if you guys know one that is cheap but also decent, let me know. Otherwise, I shall use a fabled Amazon review system. Alright, I hopefully will not trip over this again, like last time. That was embarrassing. I don't know if the monitor's any good. I'd have to do some, give you I don't know. I'm pretty picky when it comes to monitors, so it's best for me not to give you my opinion. But it definitely works for my purposes, and I like how it comes apart and packs down real easily. This is actually, Craig Compacts. It's going with his Orangulan build, and he chose it because it breaks down so nicely and fits inside the Wally bag very simply. It looks nice too, I gotta say. But as far as screen quality, I'm really picky about that. I have so many monitors that I just can't stare at anymore. Hurt my eyes. Okay, I need a keyboard and mouse. Here's a keyboard. Now I like this guy. Anker Basics wireless keyboard. Doesn't cost a lot. Nice and compact. Works. I'm gonna get a mouse. A moose. Gotta make sure that you guys can kind of see what's going on over here, but I also have to see what's going on. Derp. Going to use guess this HD Plex, because I have one right here. To find the power connector terminal because they've moved it like I've been complaining about. Where are you? They put it right next to the USB. I'm gonna guess it's that one. It's not labeled either. It's not even color coded. Asus. Come on. Come on. All right. Now I need a power brick. Power brick. I would be using my beautiful HD Plex 400 beta unit, but Larry had a little emergency and had to ask me to send it back. Very sad. Very sad indeed. Ah. Ugh. I hope you guys can know something different about me. I'm actually wearing pants, not pajamas, for this stream. Got all dressed up. If only I had dual output on this motherboard so I could use two monitors, one for me and one for you guys. But let's test. Okay. Because I'm not using a fancy button. That's right. If I had purchased an NFC brand on-off switch, it would have worked the first time. Okay. Can't use that at all. How come I can't change that? Probably won't need it for my tests, but no, I do want to save. Here we go. red is the color of performance. Yes. But if you'll notice, it's not just red. You have to have one color for your box and then a completely different color for your UEFI. Or shade, I should say. CPU fan error. See, it's not even labeled so you can figure it out easily. Chassis fan, CPU fan, all in one. Okay. Sorry. It doesn't even make it quieter. There we go. As long as that stays enabled, that's fine with me. That seems a little low. I will say that this is a little bit low. But 27 degrees, that is pretty darn nice. It has been kind of chilly in this room. It's 64 degrees Fahrenheit. You have to do the conversion on that for Celsius. But I'm thinking that solder at work, it's a solder chip at work, unless this is not soldered, but that is some pretty good heat transfer if we're just being able to run off the stock CPU and the UEFI, or Intel's done a lot of good tweaking with this CPU. What's it running at right now? Because usually you'll find in the UEFI, the CPU's kind of running full bore. It is climbing. That's cool. Literally, haha. Okay, let's save that. And I will get my stick of Windows out, but I'm going to stick my post sticker on. I'm going to make you a moderator, Cuban. Okay, I have only 3 more spots for Intel stickers. And on my tool chest will be full. Alright, Cuban, now you can post links to things. Alright, what was I doing? I was doing something. Oh, right. Windows. Rod Rosenberg. I knew he would nail the comment. Time for a bigger toolbox. That's what you do when you run out of sticker space. Still got plenty of room for tools, but no more room for stickers. Good to see you, Rod. Always a pleasure and an honor to have a real live celebrity in my chat. Do I have any AMD stickers? I do. Like 5 of them. 5 whole AMD stickers. Well, I have to say one thing. I'm going to jinx it all right now, but that 9900K, I was expecting it to be hotter than heck right now, but it is tuned perfectly out of the box, and it is running ice cold. That or Asus actually got its stuff together for this board, but we don't like giving Asus credit for anything, do we? Or I did. They were doing so good, but they're in the doghouse with me right now. That's unfair. That's unfair. They make good stuff. I wish that they just sent me an email first. You know, the one guy that they should send an email to, because I have the weirdest computer case. I do have a product key, but I'm not going to put it in yet, because I'm going to install Windows like several times. I'm going to use Pro for this one, I believe. My ambient temp in the UEFI was at 29 and climbed to 31, and the fan kicks on at, what was it set, 35? I don't remember. It was really low, but it's running pretty low right now. Oh, my ambient temp. My ambient temp is 64 degrees Fahrenheit. Yeah, see, that's about... Thanks for the VLP link. We always could use more VLP. I actually think I have that stuff in my box over there. James Fott has a good tip here. If the CPU starts to ramp up under load, check to see if the CPU is concave. Many are finding the center is higher than the rest of the PCB. I believe that with the super thin wafers Intel has been using since the 7000 series. Hopefully I'm not going to warp this one by sticking on 21 different coolers. It is going to be a long couple of weeks. Also, I have the Asetek cooler for the Dan A4. People have asked about it. What a cute little thing. What a cute little baby thing. This is the 545LC. It is an adorable little all-in-one cooler. What is this, an all-in-one for ants? Hey Mendel, it's good to see somebody joining live for the first time. We're just waiting on Windows to do its thing. Chingy, if I'm just going to throw out assumptions, I'm going to assume pretty low. I've never had an all-in-one cooler that I was impressed with. And that one, I've had lots of Asetek coolers, but I've never had one that tiny before. The viewing angles are not good in this monitor. I think you can see them better than I can. I don't want to skip this part, but I have no other option. Me! A super memorable password. Blank is the most memorable password. No. Spy on me. Okay, fine. Spy on me effectively if you're going to spy on me. One, two, three, four, five would be hard on this one. Emballus is so true. In fact, one of my tests that I do is my copper block heatsink, which I usually use for benching when I don't want to install a cooler. And I'm going to be doing like a liquid cooled build. I just put my copper block right in the CPU. Tiki, you know what my theory is? It's not the aluminum that's the major problem. It's the fact that you're not getting good heat transfer because there's not enough liquid in the tubes. It's the air bubbles inside the lines. And the second problem is the pumps are really, really, really poor. I think that those are the major offenders. I did buy the Fractal Design one, which somebody pointed out to me later is a different rebranded cooler, but it did have copper radiator, and it did have a copper heat plate. And the performance was still bad, but that was really because I believe it did not have enough liquid in it. I think the way to test it for sure is to do benchmarks with the pump and just normally set up with the radiator up high, obviously, as the fluid goes down to the pump like normal, but then to add a reservoir to the line. I think that is the best way to do that experiment. But see, that's not realistic. That's not why people buy all-in-ones, so it would just be for funds. Download Armory, Crate, and Land Driver. They spelled Armory the British way, which is suspicious. Otherwise, help you quickly connect. They don't have the space there to the internet. This motherboard comes preload. Ooh, I'm getting some Google Translate vibes here. Would you like to Loki to install the preloaded land driver and the Armory crate? I don't even know what this is asking me. Let's just do it. Connecting to the internet. MI6, I would expect to be able to spell better. That would be handy, so I can just dump over some of my software. Super Sad asks, no NFC Discord though. I'm definitely going to do a Discord. I've made up my mind. Sometime next year. I probably need to get Cuban involved in that, or somebody else. Maybe John wants to help me set that up. Oh, look at this. Advertising and Linus. Merchandising. Oop. All right, so let's install some useful stuff. Boop. Thank you, John. Aaron Sen sends $5, which I really appreciate. Thank you very much. And asks, I don't have much experience with small form factor build, so I was wondering if an NH-L9i is enough for an i5 4670 at stock speeds and voltages. Absolutely it is. Totally. And that's kind of a hot chip, but it really does work quite well. So it'll work just fine. And the minis is what I'm talking about, but on an open bench or bigger case, even better. JP, thank you so much, man. Thank you. Thank you for that donation. It is hot tonight. Thank you guys. Appreciate it very much. The worm says, sup. Sup. All right, here are my benchmarks. So first things first, I am going to get a, I'm not going to type in my Google password for you guys. So instead I'm going to get, not that I don't trust you guys, it's the other people that watch it later, right? And if you're watching it later, it's not you, it's the people that watch it later than you, and so on and so forth. Piece of paper. And my clip book. We're at 64 degrees. (22°C on my bench. 22°C on my copper struts. And I'm going to run, actually, you know what? I'm going to run the Final Fantasy benchmark first because I'm curious what the chip will do integrated. Hopefully our Windows install is going to be okay. I don't think we need to get anything completely new. I don't want to install the new Windows 10 version or anything like that. I don't really think that Intel's newer drivers is going to make it a difference, but it'll be interesting to know if it does. While that is downloading, it's going to kill the stream as well. So this is the opportunity, because now we're an hour and 15 minutes past stream time. If you see anything on that list that's missing in the description below about what you would like me to test when I'm testing out this giant array of coolers, please let me know now so I can test those things out for you. But what I'm going to do, and I planned right now, is I'm going to run Prime 95 until everything reaches part temp. Part temp, how I define it, is basically the motherboard, nothing's getting hotter, the room's not getting hotter, everything is maximum temperature, the cables are nice and hot, everything's nice and hot. I'll use my thermal camera to verify, and then I will run Prime 95 for 10 minutes and record all the core temperatures. Then I run Furmark, do the same thing over again, and then finally I run Furmark and Prime 95 and record that. That's my basic cooler torture test. I'm going to be recording the sound the fan makes with some kind of device at the moment. I do not have one quite yet. That's basically my testing methodology for this. I'll take the cooler off, I'll reapply the thermal paste, put the cooler back on, run those benchmarks again, and if there's any discrepancy, then I'm going to take the cooler off and run it a third time. If there's no discrepancy between the two, I'm going to assume the first application was okay, and then I can move on to the next cooler. But that is how I'm going to be testing this. And if you have any suggestions, because I'm not a scientist, please give them to me. James Fox suggests, outside of listing, a suggestion, run test with game mode on and then off. Just a suggestion. Is game mode an Intel feature in their display graphics driver panel settings? I'm going to write that down. Or is that a Asus thingy? Oh yeah, it's going to take at least half an hour per cooler to do all the no, it's probably going to take 45 minutes. So I plan on doing maybe 3-4 coolers a day, as I'm doing my other work. And it's going to take a couple weeks to do this, so. Yeah, Rod, I know. And the crazy thing is there's no point for me to do... This is not loading, so it's going to have to get some drivers. Probably DirectX. There's no reason for me to do this because there's only one cooler that fits in the Mini with all the options I want, really. That's the NHL9i. We already know it performs good, but I want to just do it. I'm just going to do it. So people can have an answer. Windows 10 has its own separate game mode thingy. Windows 10. Okay. Windows game mode. Thank you for pointing that out. Would it be possible to use the Dynatron K129 with a Noctua L9i fan? Yes, indeed. I have done that. That's what I used for the X299 CPUs that I built in this office. Because they have a X299 version, X99 version, 2011 socket thingy version. Windows is updating. That's what it's doing right now. Nothing really good to see. I am going to run Prime 95 just for the heck of it right now, because why not? We're on camera. Let's see what happens. Blend is fine. I don't need to really change any of these settings. I don't even know if the RAM is good yet. Let's get... I do need a certain application. I do like CPU-Z. I like to confirm my real temperatures with it, but I do like to use this as well because I do have recordings for all my past processors on it, so it's just a benchmark for me. Doesn't really mean much to you, only showing one system right here. It may not be completely totally accurate, but what I can tell you is amazing. Fan's not ramping up, which shows us about right. I gotta say that this chip is either really good, something's broken and not working right, even though it says it's at 4900 megahertz, which is seems like it's working to me. And that solder must be really good. So good job, Intel. Good job. Let's give you a little clap. That is impressive. Mendel sends $5. Thank you very much, my friend. And asks, when will the 400 watt AC-DC be available? Will you make an extended S-form that will fit? And a Zotac 1070-80 Mini. I last saw the stream a few days ago. The answer is it will be available very soon. I know that they are actually in production at the moment. And I am definitely going to make some kind of variant that will fit that product with those GPUs. Although I can't say for sure it will be the Mini, but it will be a Mini. So, yes. Good job, Intel, in the same sentence? Yes, yes. I'm actually extremely impressed. I've never seen this ramp up this slowly before. So something's either really broken, but I don't think it's broken because it is climbing. If it was still static, I would say something's broken, but it still says that our boost clock is at 4900 megahertz. Wow, that is super impressive. Thomas asked, will I do a comparison with the L9A plus the Noctua A1215? That's actually good. That's a good suggestion. I may not be able to do that, depending on how things line up. I could buy an L9A. An L9A actually won't fit in this with this motherboard. So, I guess I can't do that, but I'll put that down on the list. JPS, what temp is at? It's at 63 degrees Celsius, and it looks like it's holding at 63 degrees Celsius. Ambient temp is, looking at the base, 31 degrees Celsius. Nope, 24 degrees Celsius. the walls around me are 22 degrees Celsius. So this is absolutely mind-blowing. This is just mind-blowing. I'm gonna install CPU Z right now and see. This is the best performing Intel chip I have ever tested. But I don't trust it. So Harris Saeed says, send the results to Principled Technologies. I will make my results public for everybody to see and criticize because they need to be criticized. I'm only doing this. You guys can come to your own conclusions. Let's install... Oop. I paused it. It's dropping back down again. Everything seems to be working. 1.87. I do not want 1.87 actually. I do want 1.87 actually. Yes, I agree with you. 19th hour, especially I try to look at the math core too in Intel CPUs, because if you just averaged everything out as well, it'd just be pretty useless. I'm hoping that CPU Z will have, the new CPU, this CPU. Save. Open folder. Copy. All right, 9700K, good. That's the right CPU. And it's a Did I close off real time? It's climbing again. Everything looks right. I don't know, guys. I have to do some confirmation, but this is looking extremely impressive. I might actually have to use an 8700K for these cooler tests, actually. I was thinking this was going to be so hot that it was going to have no problem saturating my cooler. So, yeah. And if I did win the silicon lottery, I'm very, very excited about that. But wow, that is super, super duper impressive. I'm gonna do some actual overclocking on it and test this out and record all my thoughts at the beginning of the day, not way past the end of the day where I'm all tired. But Dang, let's look at the UE5 before I shut everything down. I know Windows is updating, but... let's see if Windows will even let us. Thank you, 19th Hour. I really appreciate that compliment. Yeah, I need to make more produced videos, but I need to find time to do so. Joseph, there are worse things than good thermals. Yeah, I should not be complaining. And thank you so much for your generous donation. I really do appreciate all of you guys that have donated today. It's been one of the best nights ever, actually. So thank you very much. Let's... okay, 42 in the UFI. Okay, so Prime 95, Real Temp was kind of sort of at least looking like it's working. Let's see what the V-Core is. Yeah, 2100. Everything... actually... and the only thing that I actually disabled, let's see. Maybe I should just, no, I've already disabled that. Really low. It's like it came undervolted. So I guess that for all my complaining at Asus, they've either Intel has said this is what it's going to be out the box, or this motherboard automatically applied it. But it's kind of hard for me to look and see the screen this direction. But let's go. Let's take a look. Report back next week with some findings, but it's pretty late right now. So I'm going to call it a day. But so far, guys, pretty... yeah. What's this thing? I've not seen this before either. Prediction, silicon quality, 71%, cooler 169 points. So Asus is rating my CPU based on some settings it's already applied. Interesting. Max stable cache has already said 4925. I wonder if it's actually run anything yet, or if it's just based on... I don't know what it would be based on. I really don't know. I don't know this stuff. I am a noob when it comes to that kind of thing. So, I don't know. I'm going to do some playing with it and see what I can find out. I'm going to go now. So, thank you for joining me tonight, guys. Thank you to all the Super Chat people. I'm going to call you all out. Again, if you have any suggestions for how I should go about testing these, send me an email. And let's look at this. Ow. I think it's bugged out. No! Looks like chat did bug out and the dashboard crashed. No! Here we go. Alrighty. So thank you, Weston Means, Toomer, John Morrison, Marv, Aaron Sen, JP, Mendel, Harris Saeed, Joseph Cohen for all the donations tonight. I appreciate you guys, and I shall see you next Monday. So peace.